The false name on the birth certificate was to protect the damn man from a responsibility. I need my freedom.
Hello, and welcome to the Valiant Unicorn YouTube channel. Hi, I'm Val Snow. I left a polygamous cult, and although your life experience may differ from mine, I believe we all have things to work through. I hope by promoting self-love and creativity, we can remember to speak kindly to ourselves on our healing journeys. Hello, welcome back to the Valiant Unicorn YouTube channel.
Oh, we always had those monthly birthday dinners or whatever, and except
Oh, and Mother's Day too.
no, that wasn't that was Mother's Day. It wasn't even, no, if your birthday was in May, forget it, because that was Mother's Day. Wasn't Mother's Day, it was Daniel's birthday party, because his birthday, some days it was on Mother's Day, but or the weekend, but it was right, so it was always about his birthday. And so yeah, it's interesting. All the moms that was involved, they would do like a potluck thing. Sometimes some of them would coordinate it, and so certain ones would bring main dishes and or other side dishes or desserts or drinks or whatever.
I thought it would be fun to do for Mother's Day an interview with my mom about what motherhood was like in the order.
Motherhood in the group, we usually all the mothers ended up having to have a job, and some of the mothers would get licensed to do daycare so that we could watch each other's children. And that also meant that as the children were growing up, they become friends with their own siblings, and so having outings with the family meant they always had somebody to hang around with for the most part.
Yeah, that sounds like a positive aspect. I know you wanted to, like you said off camera, that you didn't really want to find fault. That's not the point of this video. This is more for, we know that there's mothers there still experiencing the same kind of challenges. And then also for healing purposes, because these are conversations we don't really have. So I had questions like, why didn't we get food stamps? My entire childhood, we didn't have food stamps until I was over 18.
Actually, we had food stamps when, after my fourth daughter was born, I did get food stamps. They were in the booklet form. And at that time, you had to apply every 3 months. So when I got them, I was real excited, because then I went and I got a bunch of groceries, and being told that I couldn't breastfeed, I bought formula for that baby, and so the first month I really went out. The second month, apparently, he found out I had food stamps. So he came and he asked me for the book, and because at that time they came in books, it wasn't on a card, and he took them from me. And
oh, wow.
So, and he was telling me, okay, you can't have them you need to go down and pick them up yourself. You can't come have them delivered to the house, because somebody around this neighborhood will probably steal it if it's in your mail. And so, and then the third month.
So he had you ship it where?
He wanted me to get a P.O. box, or I could go pick it up from the place. And I remember I just went and picked it up. And then after the third month, because it was, when he was taking them, and so I just thought, and he came and he took them. So for 2 months he took them, and then when it was time to renew, I just thought, why should I renew to get the food stamps if he's going to come and take them away from me anyway? Because growing up the way I did, because I came from a large family, my mother bought things in case lots. And so that first month, wow, this is really nice. Yeah, it's like $300. And I did buy a lot of case goods. I do remember you guys always wanting to eat, well, not always, but because it was available, like your fruit cocktail.
Yeah, I remember eating fruit cocktail a lot.
And I remember buying the applesauce, and when we make pancakes, we'd put applesauce over top of the pancakes and syrup.
Yeah, sometimes even in baking, like cakes and stuff.
Oh yes, because applesauce makes the cakes be moist. So, I mean, I did have it, but it made me angry that he took them away from me as soon as he found out I had them.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why? What's the point in applying if I can't use it to take care of my family? I felt like that was wrong. And then I thought, well, I've got these, how many kids that are under the age of 5, and I got on WIC, and we got milk, and we got cheese, and we got eggs, and I figured, if I can't have the food stamps to get the canned goods and get the things that we're going to use and get meat and stuff like that, then, oh well, I guess. There's no point in reapplying, because if he's going to come every month and take them away from me anyway, why?
I don't know. I thought it was weird because, like, when I was older, I remember like him telling you, no, you can't go to the state and get food stamps. What was the
whole point was because it was all about protecting the man. When I had Colleen, I was so mad at him. I refused to put up this made up name on the birth certificate. I went and I applied for food stamps because there was no name on her birth certificate, and dang it, why should I? It's a lie. And I was really, I don't know why I was so upset about the whole thing, because actually I do know why I was upset about the whole thing. My inner self said, that is wrong. I wanted to try to be as honest as I could, but I tried to live integrity. I wanted to maintain integrity.
That our culture didn't really allow it. Because on my birth certificate it says Stephen Snow. Why does it say that?
Why does that say that? Because I know that he told me I had to change my name. I had to change my last name to kind of, so that it didn't look like I was a single mom. And I thought, okay, my great-grandmother's name is Heaton, and that way I can still keep the H because I'm Hanson. And he didn't like that. No, you can't be Heaton. No, that's not a common enough name. And he says, well, go through your ancestry. And I'm thinking, oh, go through my ancestry. And then he come back and he says, well, Snow's in your ancestry. You need to use the name Snow. And I'm like, I never found Snow in my ancestry. I found Shaw, but I never found Snow.
But you never legally changed your name to Snow.
No, I could not. My Social Security said Snow because the WIC vouchers for the kids.
Oh, okay.
But the state never recognized it, so I was always Shirley Hanson Snow because, or what is it called?
Hyphenated?
My driver's license always said Hanson,
okay.
But in the books it said Shirley Hanson, yeah, and then a hyphen or a slash Snow, so that they knew I went by both names.
Oh, okay. For you to now be Shirley Snow, was that just so people, even within the culture, knew you were already spoken for? Because wasn't there a secret marriage, even in the culture?
Not, some of them are. There was a heck of a lot more people at this so-called ceremony than I expected to be there. And I was like, whoa, what are you here for? Because I thought it was supposed to be a small thing, but there was lots of people there. And so, no, I mean, if they're going to treat this meeting like it's a public thing, and it was only for the people in the Davis County Co-op, then it really wasn't that private anyway. It was just because it was not state acknowledged. And so for outsiders or those that did not believe in the culture, then it was supposed to be a protection, or
so that they thought that you were spoken
so that
for.
I was, yes.
I remember being pushed away from Daniel because he didn't want people to know, like when I was a little kid, that he didn't want people to know I was his.
Yeah, but even that was still at the church, so it was still around people.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, this was the secret even within the culture sometimes, but it was just, it depended on how it affected him that day or what?
Well, apparently this is the conclusion I've come to. My mother was very vocal. She was not very well liked because she stood up for what she believed in, and she called people out, and so we were considered questioning authority, and not, because I remember that in church one time they says, the one above you, if he says jump, you should say, how high? And I'm thinking, why?
And I love how they smile when they say that. It's just like, it's like weird and manipulative. Just because they're smiling and being positive doesn't make it a positive thing.
And maybe that was because that was my thing, is because they would say, you should ask how high. And I'm thinking, why? Why do I need to jump? First of all, why jump? Not how high.
We're soldiers in God's kingdom, I guess. Or, I don't know.
No, this whole earth is the Lord's kingdom.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We're not trying to bash on anyone's religion, but we're just trying to process our own experience within that group.
So yeah, what was it like being us? It was like being a single mom. You had to fight and struggle for everything you wanted or needed.
And the false name on the birth certificate would basically just protect him from ever paying child support.
The false name on the birth certificate was to protect the damn man from a responsibility.
I guess you couldn't really question those kind of things. Was there just like you just did whatever your husband required? Or
in the beginning, I tried to do everything that they asked me to do. I mean, I was just like, this is all I knew. This is what I was going to do. But I remember there would be times he would come to me and he would say, well, you're just going to leave me like so-and-so left, like your aunt left so-and-so, and all your kids are going to grow up and leave because your brothers are all out. And I remember looking at him and I'm thinking, well, so-and-so, this brother and this brother and this brother and this brother. I mean, out of 10 brothers, you know, I only had 2 of them that wasn't in the list that was still there. You know, and
do you think he said those things to manipulate you to prove him wrong, like a reverse psychology thing? Or do you think he believed in his heart that you would be gone?
He believed in his heart that I would be gone because he would tell me, he told me that the only reason he continued to come after me was because his father told him he had to.
Really?
And it's like he told me, he says, because his dad was the leader of the order at the time, and he says, well, yeah, Ortel told me.
He was the leader of your religion too, so.
Yeah. So
that kind of makes sense. If the cult leader's telling you this is the man you're supposed to marry, even if he is like weird, rude, I guess.
Egotistical and look to me like I am the highest God in heaven. You know what?
All that.
We are all a God spark. We are no higher or lower than anybody else except by the way we treat each other.
Yeah. I always liked Grandpa. Like he said the most important thing is how you treat each other. And if all of us was the same, life would be really boring.
Okay. Well, that's why some people like red and some people like blue.
Yeah. I always thought it was a reverse psychology thing back to the dad, because like he would tell me and Chanel that, oh, you're going to leave. You guys are going to leave like Marianne did. And
I think it was, I'm planting the seed because I don't want you here.
Yeah, there's a part of that I wonder too. Like it would be interesting because I actually had it recently. I was thinking that same thing because I was like, the reason that education for me was never important is because he never planned on me being there. Like he was just using me until he was done.
It's like someone else told me. He says, all the women there are for is to provide the slave labor by producing more children for slave labor. And it's just like, you didn't have the blood. You didn't qualify, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there was times he told me.
And it was just like, well, how was it? What's the words I want to use is, I'm doing you a favor by marrying you. You should thank me for marrying you because
you're he's leveling you up within God's kingdom.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wow, that is quite the ego on that one.
So, sorry, that's the way it was. And
I don't think
some people, that's the way it is.
Yeah. I'm not trying to apologize. I know you're not trying to find fault, but this is like good information to get out there because there's a lot of people still experiencing that. And if we can just bring awareness and they can change, obviously we're not going to get rid of this culture. It's, if anything, we put how many years of our lives into building that kingdom and that culture. It's going to still be around. And if it's not, it's kind of like a waste of return on the years we put into it.
50 years for me.
Yeah.
I was born in it, so therefore I have to count all of that.
Yeah, so you did 50 years. I did like 23 years. And then you leave it and so you grow up in it, and then you leave with nothing, and you're supposed, so there's like, you put all this effort into the building of this kingdom, and then there's not a lot of return. So like when you get out into the world, you have to start over. And this is kind of us processing what that is and where we want to go, because the way they programmed us was not, it does not help us. We were just chewed up and spit out. But there's also people there that we can help by hopefully changing the culture. And by seeing what has been done to us, then maybe they won't be treated the same.
Well, helping them to have a better understanding and kind of have you can call it a paradigm shift, or or a mind, or reprogramming your mind to look at it through a different perspective.
Like what kind of expectations did they put on you as a mother in the order?
Well, I was expected to get a job, get a daycare license, work and tend kids, and keep a schedule. I remember working certain hours, and then I would come home and I would have kids there sometimes till even after 10:30 at night.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was,
it's like a couple of wives would have more hours at their jobs because they would rather not deal with their kids.
Or they chose not to, or they chose to go do something else because they didn't want to be with the kids. It was the phrase that I had someone else tell me about that particular person.
Well, there was a lot of times, I don't feel like these moms wanted the children. I think they were only having them because it was part of the expectations and the thing they needed to do to get to heaven.
Well, and it's true. And then the thing is and then if they can work, then they're going to go and they're going to go ahead and get the $10 an hour, while the person who's doing daycare is only going to get the 50 cents an hour per kid.
Yeah.
And so it was to them, depending on the quantity of children they had, then
it was worth going to work.
Well, yeah, because if they got X amount of hours, they're still, you're not making anything when you're babysitting for someone else if you're going by the fees that the
order was allowing,
that the order set up.
Yeah.
Well, based again, it was all based on who you are. Yeah.
Because some people could charge a little more.
Because I was like, my mom had some things and she asked me to do these up, and I had a wheat grinder, and so I ground some of this stuff up, and so then I was going to sell it. I got ripped a new one because you can't sell stuff to the order people. And then 3 weeks later, there's someone else in the order that's selling it because they were on a higher level. I was never supposed to sell my services. That was supposed to be my giving my all to the Lord. Everything. Well, if they want everything, by dang, they can just take all my bitterness away from me too, because I don't want to hold that bitterness, because I don't want to get sick because of it.
Yeah. I actually thought, like, in a weird way, because they would, after church, they would sell milk, they would sell things. In a weird way, it could have been supporting, like if you wanted to do something, a side hustle or whatever, depending on your family, which family you're from, it would actually, you could succeed and have a whole culture, everyone at church buy from you.
And everything could have been handled in a way where everybody could feel like that they were on the same standing, rather than, well, I can't do business with you because you're the low of low, and he said that you're not supposed to sell that you should just give it to me because I'm family.
That's what I was going to ask, because I was like, I remember you giving, like, bunding or like grinding the wheat for Daniel's family. Was that?
Oh, I was grinding wheat for a lot of people for a while. There was some people that paid me for it, and then there was some people that didn't. So.
I imagine Patricia paid you for some reason. Just because I remember her being a little bit more...
Honorable, yes.
Yeah. she had a certain standard about her, that one. If you don't know, that's Nephi's mom. We can talk about her because she's actually passed away.
Oh, she's glad she's free from this life.
I bet. But I remember she did have quite a high standard, almost like a perfection.
She did. She had I felt like, as she was the one that was in charge of the print shop and different things, I felt like that she actually was a really good mentor for the teenagers, and that my opinion of her as for the younger children wasn't as, I didn't feel like it was, I felt like her personality worked well with more of the teenagers and adolescents rather than the younger ones.
Yeah. How was she as a sister wife? Because I know that there was some wives you would get along better with, and she seemed to...
I believe we worked pretty well together. I think we did work really well together. In fact, I do remember a time that he called up Patricia. I was working in the print shop, and he told her to tell me that I was fired and tell me to go home. And Patricia came out crying, and she says, he told me I have to tell you to go home right now, that you can no longer work here and that you're fired. And she was kind of upset. And I was a little bit ticked off. And I remember I went and picked you up from the Beck Street office, and I was one of the girls was in there, and I says, you know what, he told me that I can't work there, and da-da-da, and I remember telling her, I'm fine, I'll go to the state, I'll get on food stamps, I will report him as the father. And I said all these things to her, and because I was quite upset because of the way it was presented to me. And then I get home, and he's got a group of teenage boys out there, and they've been working across the street on the farm, doing this, that, and the other. And he wanted to know if I would just go ahead and make lunch for those kids.
So he fired you so you could make lunch?
Yes.
And then the next day, because this has happened a lot actually to even me, like I'd get fired, and then they would be like, the next day they're like, where are you at? I need you here in like 2 hours. So it sounds like he just wanted you home so you could feed the boys.
Why couldn't he tell the truth? Why couldn't he say, hey, we're out here working and she lives out here.
Can you come home and
ask her to, why couldn't he be honest?
Or nice. Like it seems like every way he did things was to be like, I don't know what to say other than deliberately hurtful.
That's actually a really good way to say it.
But I remember that because he when he came over, he demanded that you apologize to me for your behavior. And I remember thinking, what did she do? Like, you're the one can you apologize for all the times that you were wrong?
I'm sorry, I picked you up from work and made you come with me.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you apologizing for? Like, I don't even know what she did. Like, at the time, all I knew was that you got fired and you picked me up. Not like I was getting paid anyway, so I was like, okay, I guess we're going home. So then he shows up and he's super rude, and I was like, why is he? And he's saying, when we make mistakes as adults, it's important to apologize to our children so that we can set a good example, and you need to apologize to, and like made her apologize to me. And I was like, for what?
For picking you up from a work that wasn't paying you anything anyway.
But yeah, Patricia was great. I learned a lot of life lessons from her. She was a little harsh as far as like her standard that she expected from us. But I've always got paid when I worked for her. Anywhere, like just about anywhere else, they were cutting corners on my paycheck or not giving me a paycheck at all.
Yeah. Or they didn't have to pay minimum wage yet because you weren't 16 or you weren't married, or you weren't 18 or you weren't married. I do remember the twins, and when they were trying to do the online school, and then they had them working at one of the businesses, and the older twin, when we seen the pay on her, it totally didn't match the hours, and I called them. They says, well, she's not married, and therefore we only have to pay her a certain amount an hour, but so in order to do that, we have to reduce her hours, so her hours on her paycheck did not match the hours on the time card that I had gotten copies of, because they had to make sure that, well, she can only get minimum wage might be $5, so she can only get $3.50. And so in order to do that, we have to deduct the hours so that it averages out that it's only $3.50 per hour.
Yeah, and then they had to do, like, because of child labor laws, they did it that way too.
Yeah, so that it would look like they were working less hours, even though they were working more hours.
Right.
And
trying to pretend they wasn't breaking the law while breaking the law. They did that to me too, as far as like cutting the hour. First, Daniel tells me, okay, we can't pay you per hour, but we can pay you it was like I was working
per project.
It was like I was at the metal, the eighth or whatever.
Yeah, the fabrication shop.
Yeah, so I for every piece of metal that I made, then I was going to be paid so much. And then it turned out I was producing enough to get $2 more than minimum wage per hour. And then all of a sudden the story changed to, no, you have to have training on all the machines. And it's 40 hours on each machine. And this is after I've already worked there for 2 weeks for free.
I still think it's funny when your younger brother, the oldest of your younger brothers, was working there. And they wanted him sanding all the welds, and he didn't have any gloves. So I ran over to Harbor Freight on my lunch break. I bought a package of gloves, and at that time they came in like a 6-pack or whatever they came in. And I went back and I said, okay, these are yours. And I wrote snow on it for him. And I says, now remember, you bring them back up here, you put them in my desk drawer, and you do this. And so he's down there sanding, and it's, maybe half hour, 45 minutes later, his so-called boss comes up there, and he goes, oh, Shirley, where are the welding gloves? And I look at him and I says, Harbor Freight.
Well, the company's supposed to provide those.
Yeah, but thing is he wasn't legally old enough to be working in the shop because he wasn't 16 yet.
How old was he?
12 or 13.
That's young.
But
working with welding.
He didn't do the welding. What he was doing was sanding the welds after they were finished.
Just to make sure they're smooth.
Yes. So that was his job.
But for anyone that doesn't know, to make this make more sense, Mom worked upstairs in the answering area for the phones. Yeah,
because I was doing I was assisting the sales, I was assisting dispatch, and I was working with AR. And also anything that was 90 days plus, then they asked me to start doing the collections on those.
And they kind of worked that out for a lot of the mothers to where their kids are within the same
same facility or area, so that they would have an opportunity to get work skills.
As a mother in the order, most of the births are done at home.
Correct. Yeah, most of the kids were born at home. You were a home birth. And usually Daniel was there. He wasn't there for yours. I remember when I had Chanel, he called me or whatever, or I let him know, and he was all mad at me because he was saying, you're just telling me this because you know I'm going on a date. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know what the crud goes on in his little brain or what goes on in his life, because he doesn't share. So then the next morning, and I'm having contractions, and I'm like, okay. I called the first wife, and she called where he was at, wherever he was at. This was with Chanel.
All of this is with Chanel.
And anyway, Mom was there, Kathy was there. I was having contractions. It did not stop. It was a full 45 minutes of contractions. And then when it did stop, then I was like, oh, that is so nice, I can sit down. But no, I had to go to the bathroom. I really had to go to the bathroom. So I went in there, and no, I was having a baby.
Oh, shoot.
And so then I go back in the bedroom, and I'm not there, and Kathy had put hot water on the stove, and they were trying to get things sanitized and whatever, and Daniel walks in, and I'm having a pushing contraction. He goes, oh, wait, I gotta go wash my hands first. Okay, go wash your hands. And then the next time, I can't stop it. I can't not stop it. And Kathy walks in, oh, look, it's a baby. And he comes running out of the bathroom. He's still got soap all up his arm.
No.
She came out, whoosh, And he almost couldn't even catch her because his
He had
hands
all
were.
the soap on his hands. Wow.
Anyway, I was really quite upset, and he said something because, and I says, well, if you ever do that again, if you're not there, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, because the way he treated me, I was kind of bugged at him.
Yeah, with the way he treated you during Chanel's.
Well, with the whole thing, tell me I was lying and everything, because when I started out with Chanel, I was less than 100 pounds. When I went into labor, I was 128 pounds, and she was not a very big baby.
Like
and
6 pounds?
She was only 5 pounds.
Oh.
She was 5 something. She was bigger than the twins. And the youngest twin was 4'12", and the older twin was 5'8". So she was probably about 5'10" or 5'12".
Somehow we forgot to mention that Daniel got after Shirley for having Chanel. Chanel was the first of his kids to ever be born under 6 pounds.
Anyway, so then fast forward to I'm expecting the twins. I remember talking to him about stuff, and he said something, and I says, well, if you're not there, I'm not even going to tell you about it. My cousin's wife, she helped us out a lot. I said, I'll just have her take me up to the hospital, and I'm not even going to tell you. I won't even tell you a dang thing. He beat me to my house.
Oh, okay. Because he knew?
He said he knew. He figured it out, because when last time he had been there, he said he was kind of pushing on my stomach and checking and whatever, and he's going, oh, okay, yeah. And so he actually, we didn't have an ultrasound. In fact, I was going to get an ultrasound, and he happened to show up the day I was supposed to have my appointment, and had me doing something else, and I never said a word to anybody, so I don't know how he ended up keeping me from going to get an ultrasound.
I thought they didn't believe in ultrasounds.
No, they didn't want you to have ultrasounds. But if I'd had an ultrasound, we'd have known about the younger one's heart condition before we ever even had.
Oh, wow.
So
why don't they want you to have ultrasounds?
Oh, they don't care now. Back then it was because it cost too much money.
Oh, it was about money, of course.
Everything's about the dollar sign.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the story. My water had broke, and that's why I was I was somewhere else. That's why I had called Suzanne, and I was with her. So she wouldn't even let me drive home. So she drove me home, left the kids at her house with her older kids. We got a hold of him before we left her house. And like I said, he beat me there. Then we get the oldest one born, and he's, they're taking care of her and everything. And then I'm having contractions again, and he tells me to stop. You're pushing your bladder out. You need to stop. Well,
because he had already told you you're not having twins, right?
Oh, everybody was telling me I wasn't having twins because I wasn't big enough, because with Chanel, I was less than 130 pounds. And now I look normal because I was 140 pounds.
But you knew, because you could feel like kicking from
I felt
all
different.
directions.
Well, not only that, I actually had a dream prior to that I had these twins. When I had the twins, then I had the oldest one first, and she like I said, she was like 4'12". And then anyway, so then my contractions had stopped.
The oldest one was only like 4
pounds and 12 ounces.
That is tiny.
Yes, they were little babies. And the younger one was 5'8".
Oh, wow.
They were almost 20 minutes apart. When my contractions stopped, and I was just kind of, he was telling me to push when he realized it wasn't the bladder.
Right.
And I was starting to shut down, and I yelled at him. And I think that might have been the first time I literally yelled at him and says, "Dang, you frickin' help." And he got up and he pushed on my stomach, and he pushed the baby out, and they was taking care of the baby and everything. And they took the babies out, and I'm in there freezing my butt off because everybody just walked out. Sam brings me a thing that's got warm water in, so I take it and I start wiping off my legs, getting all the blood off of me, because heck, they're in there. People are on the phone. They're calling people, "Hey, she had twins,"
Yeah.
And anyway, he's in there and he sees me and he says, "Oh, okay, let's help you get cleaned up." And so they put a towel over me, and him and Suzanne were in there, and they picked me up. And I remember trying to say, I'm either going to throw up or pass out or throw up. But Suzanne said all she heard was, I'm going to, and I was out.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't just pass out. I left my body. And I see Nortel, or at least that's who my mind connected it to be, whether it was them
in that room, right?
In that room. And they were in the doorway. And then I remember hearing him call my name. And no, Daniel. And and then everything went black. And then I looked up at him. But I did tell him, your dad's here. And he acted like it was no big, oh yeah, there's lots of people from the other side over here. And I'm thinking,
Ortel was like the previous leader, for anyone that doesn't know.
Paul actually ends up coming over, and he's like, well, we're going to have to really pay close attention to this younger one, that she's not looking too good. And, let's work with her. We got to massage her stomach. We need to do these things,
Okay.
It wasn't working out. And that was on a Wednesday night. Thursday night, Mom comes up. So Grandma. And she comes up and she comes in there and she tells Paul. Now, see, I had lost so much blood. I'm only knowing on the hearsay part.
Afterwards.
And so, and she tells Paul, there is something wrong with this baby. You need to take it to the hospital.
And this is what Grandma's saying?
This is what Mom's saying.
Okay.
And he's like, well, no, if you would just do what I tell you to, everything will be okay. And Mom said something to him about one of his wives, and you just let that baby die. And it made him mad, and he left.
Oh, because I had heard that Daniel had said that she got one out of the deal.
Oh, no, that's what Daniel told me that night when he came back from Ibapa. And he come in, and he was telling me, well, at least we're going to get one out of the deal.
Yeah.
So, no, that was Daniel's comments to me. He was going to let her die. So this was Thursday night when he was telling me that.
Oh, wow. So they're just letting...
And Mom and Dad are in the house, in the back room, in that back bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And the next morning, she says, I need to get a hold of LaDonna. Somehow Mom gets a hold of LaDonna. And then Mom tells me, she says... After she gets off the phone, she tells me, you need to get up, you need to get dressed. And she called Lorene, because Lorene was working. Lorene had a niece or somebody working in a lab in the hospital. And they made arrangements to take me and the older twin down to the lab to get the blood test, because I have to worry about the Rh negative. And the older twin is Rh negative. And so they was thinking if I need to get the RhoGAM shot. While we're gone, after that, Mom took me to breakfast because she says she didn't want me going home because she knew that baby was dying. And after everything that Paul said and everything, she knew, and how Daniel said, at least we'll get one out of the deal.
Yeah.
That she did not want me there when the baby died.
Yeah.
She deliberately got me out of there because she didn't want me to be there when the baby passed.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, because she had talked to LaDonna.
Yep. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but it's because Grandma told me this story when I lived with her working at the mine. So
in the meantime, she gets, and so we leave. And according to my sister, not Kathy, and not Susan, but she was there. Her and Suzanne was there. And she says, Paul comes in and he points his finger at Daniel and says, you get that baby to the hospital right now. And so they had to call Junior. And so then my cousin, she was the one there. And so they had Junior driving the car, according to my cousin, and she was in the front. She was leaning over, holding the oxygen or doing something, and Daniel was in the back rubbing and trying to massage her and everything. And then they get up to the hospital and they drop Susan off there with the baby.
Just leave her?
I said, go take her in. So she goes in and they says, you've got to be really careful. You can't let them know who we are or whatever. We're at the restaurant. Mom says, I need to go see if I can use a phone. She was getting after me because I was so pale because I had lost enough blood that I actually died. And then they brought me back. And I was laying down in the booth. And she kept telling me, you get up and you slide in the back corner and lean up there so you don't look like you're dying, because you look like you're dying. Anyway, so she went to use the phone. She called the house. My cousin, he was, who you guys, was you kids, you know who I'm talking about. He says that he had just barely got there. The front door was open. The phone was ringing, and he walked in and he answered the phone. He says, there's no one here. There's no cars out here. There's nobody here. And
this is just at the house by Trolley Square?
Yes, this is the house by Trolley Square. And so Mom says, well, I've got Shirley, just so you know where we're at. And so she comes back down, we sit down, we order the food, and we eat. And then just as we're getting ready, finishing up eating, one of the workers at this restaurant comes and asks, well, are you this person? Are you this? And Mom said yes. And they says, well, we have Primary Children's Hospital on the phone for you.
Oh, interesting.
And so we go up to the desk, and I remember her getting really mad on the phone and says, well, of course this person can be there. She's my daughter. Because my sister Susan had a name close to that, and that's what in my mom's mind.
Yeah.
And so that it was okay for my cousin's wife to be there. And then Mom took me up to the hospital, and they really just reamed Mom over. Apparently, Daniel told Susan to make sure and tell him that it was Mom that delivered the baby.
But she was the.
But Mom wasn't even there because she was working in Emery County as a school teacher. She had talked to the principal about coming up, and he told her no. Well, then after she ended up talking to him on Thursday morning, and so she went in and did her plan. She was there Thursday night. So if they were to go back and look, Mom can prove that she was not there to deliver the twins. It wasn't her.
Yeah. I remember she told me how upset she was because when that they had told the hospital that she was the, what is it called? She acted as the midwife. Yeah, the midwife. She was the acting midwife, and that she wouldn't allow them to bring that baby up to the hospital, which was not true. In fact, she's the only reason that baby got to the hospital, because when she called LaDonna and made a deal out of it, and then LaDonna talked to Paul, and Paul got Daniel to finally bring that baby up to the hospital. And
if Sharon and Suzanne's accounts were the exact same, where they says Paul come in and he goes, Daniel, you get that baby to the hospital now. Yeah. I mean, both of them tell the exact same story in different wording. So, yeah. Yeah, was that pretty scary then for you? Did you know that that's what was happening? I did not know. I didn't even know if I was going to live. Oh, because you had lost a lot of blood. Every time I stood up, I felt like I was going to fall back down. Well, what's interesting is at this girl's wedding, after all this, people, I wasn't even allowed to be there for my daughter's ceremony. And so then the reception thing, they come back and they do a little meeting and program thing before the reception. I remember at the wedding that Daniel got up and he made a big to-do about how he saved her and told her, you can't give up yet. You're not done. Yeah. Yeah, he got up and said all that, and like that you were really close. We were really close to losing you, but because God told me that, like, God. Interesting, he says God, because now hearing your story, it was Paul that told him to get that baby up to the hospital. But he takes a lot of credit for saving her life, when in reality, he told me, "Oh, at least we'll get one out of the deal." Yeah, he was going to let her die. Damn man, I better quit swearing. Why swearing? Honestly, when I use sometimes swearing, it's needed.
Like with my boxes, I use the goddamn unicorn because it's that important. It's emphasis.
So, and they're alive today. And they have lots of kids.
How many kids have we heard? I mean, I know some of your kids don't talk to you now.
So, last I know, the oldest twin has 9. She just barely had a baby boy a few weeks ago or so, not very long ago. And the younger one, I don't know if she still has 8 or if she's had another one since I seen her, which has been 3 years.
Wow, that is a lot of kids. So yeah, the twins were they both stayed in the order. Being a mom in the order is hard. For the circumstances, I wanted to let you know you did a really good job. And also I wanted to ask if there's anything you want to tell like maybe your daughters that are still there or the children that aren't speaking to you, if there was anything you would want to tell them.
I don't really know. A mother always has, you feel like you love your children, regardless of what choices they make in their life as they get older. But I realize that they all are older. They have their life's choices. And if they choose not to have me in their life, yeah, it hurts. But I don't want to force anything because this whole earth is created on agency. I would love to be able to talk to them and meet them and, but if they decide they want to cut me off, at least they know where I am if they ever feel like that they want to reconnect.
Yeah, they know where we're at if they ever need anything. I have a couple other curiosity questions, just for my own curiosity. As a mother in the order and seeing Daniel marry 4 of his half sisters, did you ever think any of your kids would marry into Daniel's family?
No, I actually made the comment. I seen something happen at church one time, and I thought, there is no frickin' way I want any of my daughters marrying any of their brothers.
So you never supported that?
No, I did not.
Good, because I remember growing up thinking that was like bizarre. I'm like, that doesn't happen anymore. That only happened back in the day. Like it doesn't, and then it happened.
Well, here's the thing that's so interesting. That every one of these groups claim that they are the only place. And if they really, truly are the only place, then why does it say in Leviticus, just all these things, and then they come and if they are marrying their father's daughter from another mother, they are not following the laws that Moses put out for them.
Yeah. That's why I asked about circumcision, because in the law of Abraham, I was like, sorry to ask it or like bring it up again, but it's just like, they just kind of pick and choose what they want to believe.
Yeah, there's only certain things that applies to them. The rest of the scriptures is just stories. They
actually didn't even do a sacrament meeting until you made a comment, and then one year then they tried to do it.
It was after Tom Green came into the group.
Okay. So it didn't have to do with you complaining about it?
It had nothing to do with me asking about it, but I think I was not the only one asking about it because I had people ask me, so I asked.
I'm glad that you never wanted us to marry our half-sisters. I never felt like that was a pressure I had on me. Oh, I wanted to ask one other thing. This is just my own curiosity. Could you tell growing up that I had tendencies that I would be leaning towards being with men?
I didn't really pay attention. I didn't know. I thought, if I look back at it now and I'm thinking, there are certain things you did that I was thinking, oh, okay, but I can see how it would manifest into that, but I didn't give it that much thought.
Me neither. Actually, I have the worst gaydar to this day because in our culture, I never viewed it as an option. So my mind doesn't even go there.
Exactly. I have a different perspective now. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'm not the greatest person for, talking. Sometimes I round off and go in different directions anyway.
A few of them like the tangents. I know Casey was mentioning she would love to see Shirley go off on a tangent and talk about some of the things. So thank her for opening up and being so vulnerable. Thanks, guys.